This is a tough one.
K-Dog's movie review.
Keeper is directed by Osgood Perkins and stars Tatiana Maslany and Roseef Sutherland. A romantic anniversary trip to a secluded cabin turns sinister when a dark presence reveals itself, forcing a couple to confront the property's haunting past. Okay, new Osgood Perkins horror movie out, and for this one I was pretty excited. I've enjoyed a lot of his movies. Blackcoat's Daughter, Hansel and Gretel, Longlegs I didn't love, but I enjoyed a lot of. The trailer really grabbed me too. A secluded cabin in the middle of the woods, following this couple, seeing their different perspectives on if they could really trust the other person or not. Now, I will be talking spoilers at the end of this review. I will warn you before. To get into the spoiler-free review, let's just get into it. This movie is a little frustrating. I'll start with the positives. As with pretty much every Osgood Perkins horror movie, the cinematography and the overall atmosphere are immaculate. This is a beautifully shot movie. At times can feel very claustrophobic. It's one of those ones where you're really paying attention to what's in the corners of shots. You're like, was that just a shadow? Or was that shadow moving? Is that a creature? What's going on here? And the filmmakers definitely did this on purpose because they linger on shots for a long time, sort of give you that sense of unease. Your body just wants the camera to transition to a different scene because you know that something might be there, but you just don't know what. And so a lot of that tension is sustained for a majority of this film just due to the cinematography alone. And as I said, with every Osgood Perkins film, the atmosphere is absolutely here. He has this way of making horror movies that feel dreamlike. Not everything is a nightmare, but everything just feels a little off. Everything's very slow and almost too chilled out. If you're more so into those popcorn horror movies, like the Conjuring ones or a slasher film, for example, you're probably not going to like this. It's slow, and it takes a while to really get going. But in the midst of that slow burn, the visuals really sustained my attention. The dude definitely knows and loves horror, and really knows how to freak out an audience. There are some visuals in this movie that are probably going to stick with me for a while. They really creeped me the fuck out, especially towards the end of the movie. I'll talk about that in spoilers. The acting was 50-50. Tatiana Maslany, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, she was excellent. She was great in this movie. She really sells a lot of those tense moments really well and really puts you into the perspective of this woman who's in this dude's cabin, who she's only been dating for a year, and is a little freaked out by certain things that are going on, and is a little unsure of certain actions that he's taking. And she does a good job of bringing you into her psyche as someone who wants to love this person, but is also kind of freaked out at the same time and has her guard up. The dude, however, Roseef Sutherland, he was terrible in this movie. I thought he was awful. They're supposed to be this couple and they have absolutely no chemistry. I thought all of his delivery was awful. I don't know what his direction was at all whatsoever, because given the story, you'd think he would act a sort of a different way, but he was just like talking to a rock. I have no idea how they became a couple, within this universe. I didn't like him at all. I didn't really understand his tone a lot of the time. He has somewhat of a muffled monotone voice. He just reminded me of the most boring people that you have to sit with at a dinner party or something. He was terrible. I'm sorry. I'm sure he's a good actor in, other things, but here I didn't like him when he was on screen at all. And it sucks because he's 50% of the movie. This is supposed to be a couple in the middle of the woods. The story really hinges on their chemistry, for which there was none. And this is ultimately where I get into my biggest negative for this movie. The story. The writing was really lackluster here. I don't think Osgood Perkins wrote this one. I know he's written others like Longlegs that I didn't really like the story for either, so I'm not sure what's going on here with him and his writing or the writing teams that he gets, but the story just felt from the beginning, it sets it up in a certain way. And I thought, my brain, I was going to different avenues because I thought it's too obvious what they're setting up here. It's just too obvious. But then it goes that obvious route. And it just felt like, even though there is a payoff at the end, it just wasn't super satisfying because the story itself was kind of predictable and boring. It also has the problem of, if you think too much about it, you start having a ton of questions, which I'll get into a little bit with spoilers. I think really this could have been like a 20 or 30 minute short story. And yet, it's stretched out with the slow burn to be an hour and like 40 minutes long. It's strange because I left the theater thinking it was solid because of that final 10 minutes or so has some really intense imagery, which I enjoyed. I found myself perked up. I was scared but intrigued at the same time. I was thinking, oh wow, that's pretty fucking cool. That's awesome imagery right there. And so it kind of left me on a high. But the more the movie has sat with me on the drive home, I just kept thinking, well, this doesn't really make sense. This doesn't really add up. This wasn't really sold well for me. And so I find myself just kind of slowly liking it less and less. So to quickly sum it up, if you're a fan of Osgood Perkins, I do recommend seeing it, especially in theaters, because the dude knows horror. And there are horrific things in here. I was definitely scared at moments, and some of the acting is top notch. But if you're kind of on the fence about Osgood Perkins and what you've wanted is just a better story out of him, this is unfortunately not it. It's frustrating because I want this filmmaker to succeed. I mean, not that he hasn't. I mean, he's come out with tons of movies and they've all probably made money. So I'm sure he's doing fine in life. But I want his movies to be better. Just a little bit better, because they're all kind of like here for me. And they're so close to being up here. Spoiler section, you've been warned. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, we get a lot of these cuts of women screaming, seen from the perspective of some character, meeting all of these different women, and eventually those women somehow being brutally, murdered or killed in some way. And so basically the movie is trying to tell you, like, hey, someone, supposedly the guy in this movie, has met all of these different types of women who eventually meet a terrible end. And I thought that was almost too on the nose. So I thought, maybe it's the woman. Maybe the woman's bisexual and she's the one who has been meeting all these different women and ultimately is the one who kills them or something. And so I was intrigued from the beginning because it's a solid start. You know that bad things are going to happen. You just don't know why or how they're going to go about. Just the chemistry between our two actors is just so bad. Oh my God, I can't get over it. I can't get over how much the movie did not sell them as a couple. But anyway, so they've been dating for a year, and the dude has a cabin in the middle of the woods that he wants to bring the girlfriend to. He gets her this gift, this shirt that is a color that she absolutely hates. She's talking to her friend about it on the phone. She's never been a fan of this color, but he gets it for her. So you already think that something is just a little off there. Like, he doesn't really know her that well. Like, maybe he's just not that good of a boyfriend. Or maybe he is, but he's trying. He's just not that great. So anyway, they go to the cabin. She's supposedly a city girl, so she's a little uncomfortable from the very beginning. And when they get there, they find this box on a table. It's supposedly a cake. It was supposedly left by the person who runs the house. They have a specific word for it, but I'm forgetting it now. It's not the gardener, but basically the person who watches over the home. They leave this cake in a box, which honestly, it kind of looked like poop in the beginning, like actual shit. Like, because it's kind of like the chocolate is like smeared on the outside. It looks not appealing. And immediately Liz, our lead, it just has this weird fascination with the cake. Like, she stares at it really awkwardly and almost like something about the cake is triggering her. And I thought, whoa, maybe she has like an eating disorder or something, because later on during the evening, and this is where the story is just could be a lot better. They're about to have sex. Liz and the main dude. I forget the main dude's name. They're about to have sex. But then the dude is like, oh, wait. You have to have this cake from the gardener. You have to have the cake. And she's like, oh, what? No, we're about to have sex. Like, no, like, come on, we're doing it. And he's like, no, I insist you have the cake. So obviously something seems wrong. It just seems awkward and weird for him to do this. He opens the cake. It's a chocolate cake. She's like, oh, I've never liked chocolate. I hate chocolate. And he's like, oh, well, have it anyway. It's clear that something is wrong with the dude. Like, he is trying to either poison her or do something to her with this cake. And it almost just seemed too on the nose. But what ends up being revealed is that the cake actually is drugged. And so during that dinner scene, she eats the whole plate, and she's very uncomfortable while doing it. But, you know, she's in this guy's cabin. She's trying to be nice, so she eats it anyway. She can't sleep that night, so she wakes up in the middle of the night, goes downstairs, and basically makes love to this cake. She eats it very passionately, but also is like kind of terrified of it at the same time. And so I thought, again, maybe she has an eating disorder. Maybe that's why she's so against having this cake. But it's odd because later in the movie, when it's, you know, revealed that this guy was trying to drug her with the cake, and I'll get into why in a second, but he says a line like, you were only supposed to eat a slice of the cake and pass out, but you ate the whole thing, and then you were able to be awake throughout the whole next day. Which I don't know how that pharmacology makes sense. I don't know how eating more of the drug thing can make you more awake. So anyway, as I said, 80% of this movie is Liz inside the house. She's essentially on an acid trip. I don't know if it's from the cake or just from seeing these actual monsters that are in the house. She even says one time she feels like she's on shrooms. She's just seeing weird shit, having weird dreams of rivers and fish and a lot of like nature-esque stuff, superimposed with really fucked up looking people. And so at one point in the movie, the dude leaves. He says, I'm a doctor. I got to go help this patient. He leaves for an extended period of time. He comes back and he's surprised that she's there. Plays it off like, oh, you just scared me there. But seemingly something's wrong because it feels like he did not expect her to be there. She wants to leave. He again convinces her with his charm, which he has none, which I thought was stupid. Like, I think this movie would have been so much better if he was charming and manipulative, you know, but he just keeps saying like, please stay. I won't kill you. She stays. All the doors are locked, and he basically reveals the whole plan. The whole thing was that him and his creepy cousin from earlier in the movie are actually like over 200 years old. And way back when they were young, they saw this creepy witch woman in the river dancing in the rain or something. And they shot her. And they brought her into their barn to die with the pigs. And apparently while they had her in the barn, she gave birth to something. Basically this litter of monsters, the monsters that she saw throughout the movie. And since they killed the mother, the children have nothing to eat. And so when they get hungry, they start wailing and waking up the neighbors. So when they start wailing, this guy dates a girl for a year and then sacrifices her to the monsters. Now, here's the weird part. He says that, like, the monsters give him and his cousin, eternal life, which I feel like doesn't make sense. Why would they grant life to something that killed their mother? Unless they're just like weird supernatural children that have these gifts and they don't really understand who they're giving all of this eternal life to. It's very strange. And also, the cousin is set up as, you know, kind of this asshole. He's someone who just like meets a random woman off the street, and that's the kind of woman that he sacrifices. He doesn't really get to know them at all. Our main character is too much of a love bug, and he really gets to know them and everything, which seems like a bizarre way to go about sacrificing someone. Liz talks to her best friend on the phone like she has a cell phone. The friend knows her location. Like, it's very odd that he would like get to know women this well before essentially murdering them. So in that sense, the plan just seems convoluted for the sake of the story to play out. Also, to go back a bit, the cousin comes over at one point during the dinner with the girl that he's going to sacrifice. And she's some, European girl. At one point, Liz asks the European woman, "Are you okay?" The European woman says the cake tasted like shit. And so you also know that she's eaten this bizarre cake in this kind of gross box. But later on in the movie, the European chick is just killed in the woods. She's looking around, she's looking for an Uber. She like walks out and says, "I want Uber." Just because probably Uber gave Osgood Perkins $50 to say that. So she ate the cake, but she also wasn't drugged. So like, does the cake ever actually drug anyone? It seemed weird. Like the cousin obviously gave her the cake, but the cake didn't work on her because she just ended up getting eaten in the woods when she was like, fully up and aware. Also, that doesn't make sense because the whole point was that the children need to be fed these people. Supposedly the children can only eat people when they're drugged up and they're locked in a basement. But they were able to hunt down this European girl in the forest and like drag her up a tree. He tells her his whole plan, which again, another big exposition dump. It kind of drew away all the tension that was in the movie for me. It was like, oh, okay, here's the part of the movie where everything's revealed in an exposition scene. So anyway, after he reveals his plan, he says, "I always actually loved you," even though it never seemed like he did. He basically just leaves her in a basement and he turns up the music and he puts on shades. And this is the part of the movie that actually brought me back. The design of the children, the design of these monsters. They were horrific. I fucking loved them. You have basically like 3 or 4 different types of them. I really loved, it's this person who's wearing a bag on their head and they eventually take off the bag and it's like an amalgamation of faces, all like emoting differently at the same time. It was really cool. I really liked it. It was really weird and scary. Liz, at one point, just like asks the creature, like, "What are you?" They're an amalgamation or all of the women who have been killed by them put into one body, which I thought was kind of a cool and weird and unique idea. Apparently, Liz looks exactly like the original witch mother that the dude killed over 200 years ago, the mother of these freakish children. And so the freakish children work with Liz to basically empower her with witchy powers, which she eventually uses to kill our main dude. Our main dude, because he was unable to sacrifice someone to the witch children, has suddenly aged up like, 40 years or something. He's a really old man and he is hung from a tree and dipped in honey. So what's left ambiguous is whether Liz just happened to look like the mother and so the children, didn't kill her for that reason. They just kind of reminded them of the mother. They just thought, "Oh, you're the mom, let's save you." Or is Liz a reincarnation of that woman? The weird thing is that the main evil dude points it out to Liz earlier when he's revealing his plan. He says that he looks exactly like her, which is weird because why would he then want to date her and like sacrifice her to these things? If she looked exactly like the mother, why would he do that? Wouldn't you want to distance yourself from someone who looks like the mother of the children that you were feeding? Oh, that's another thing. The cousin, he sacrifices the European chick to them, So supposedly he should be fine. But then later on in the movie, he goes into the main bad guy's house and he sees that Liz is there. And he was expecting her to be dead and sacrificed at this point. So he's acting a little creepy. Liz is in the bathroom and he has like a machete or something. And he's like coming to supposedly kill her. And the monsters kill him. And I don't know why. There's a quick scene where like he's decapitated, but like there's a piece of his head just hanging off, and it like one of the monsters like pulls him up. It looks really cool and really horrific. Like again, cinematography, the creature designs, all the scares, they're all really good. But it doesn't really make sense. There's a lot of cool scares in this movie, a lot of great looking scenes, but once you really start to go through the story, a lot of stuff just feels kind of meh. If you think about this movie, like, you know, maybe from the perspective of a woman, you know, being a woman in this house and, you know, trying to be nice, but not wanting to eat the cake, but being forced to eat it, or trying to not let the cousin in the house when he wanted to get in the house, but he convinces her and she's just trying to be nice. So she lets him in, even though she feels creeped out about it. There's a lot of good kernels for ideas there, but they just never really feel fleshed out enough. I think they should have sold this relationship between our main two actors a lot more. If they had great chemistry and he really did seem like a genuine person, and maybe it just seemed like Liz was being a little too cautious for her own good, then, you know, there's a lot of tension there and there's a lot of mystery and intrigue about what's really happening. Is Liz just over exaggerating, or is this guy actually doing some nefarious shit? Also, earlier in the movie, Liz's friend comes up a couple times, and this friend hates the main dude. Basically, she keeps saying, yo, he's married. Something's up with him. They kind of use that to up the tension for the movie about like what this guy could possibly be up to. But up until maybe the end where his lie gets exposed, he doesn't really reveal anything to make it seem like he's, you know, cheating on his wife or has a wife or something like that. It just feels like the friend is unnecessarily evil towards this dude. I guess I'll just note this, but I'm not really sure what it meant. There's a lot of fish symbolism. The two characters towards the beginning of the movie, they're eating fish. Liz is often having these like dreams or visions of fish in a stream. The original witch mother and then Liz in the end, they have lit up eyes that look like fish eyes. And when the main bad guy is describing his plan to sacrifice Liz, he describes this old folktale or saying or something about a fisherman who catches a fish and that fish offers him 3 wishes. I didn't really get it. I don't know. Is Liz the fish in this situation? Is she not a fish? I didn't really get the fish stuff. Please let me know what you guys thought of this movie in the comments below. What's your favorite Osgood Perkins movie? Did you understand what the fish stuff meant? Because I did not. Till next time.